Hi. So this is the second of two screencasts to support academic skills. Second of three, I should say. Um, and this one will focus on structure. Try and make this a bit shorter than the last video, but there are always more things to talk about than you think when you start these things. And inevitably, when I start talking about referencing, I start talking about structure and summarizing. So they all feed into each other, and I'm going to try and make these second and third videos shorter than the last one. So I'm screen sharing again. We're back to that screen we saw in the last video. If you're watching this one out of sequence, I'd watch the first video first before you watch this one, because I'll be assuming that you've watched the earlier video. So watch the first one if you've clicked to start this as your first video to watch. There's lots of useful information in all of them. Okay, so this is a video focused on structure. And in the last video, we were talking about referencing, and I've put that in color so you can see the difference between material that's sort of like summarizing theories or summarizing studies in this case, but the importance of having other material that's sort of more kind of essay question focused. So this bit here that I'm highlighting now, this bit is like a signposting sentence. It's saying to the reader, look, here's where we are in terms of thinking about things relevant to the essay question. We're thinking about this kind of research, and we're going to make a point perhaps about how, there are all diverse ways of understanding young adult drinking behavior. In recent research has highlighted the range of the diversity of young adult drinking behavior and how that's apparent in things like sober curiosity and transitions in drinking behavior and all those kinds of things. But it's not, our interest isn't just in these specific studies. Our interest is broader, isn't it? It's about making a point that's going to be used to address an essay question. So this material is more kind of health psychology related. You'll be writing an addiction essay, but the same principles kind of apply. It's thinking about using evidence, using theory, and not just focusing on them too descriptively, but having them as illustrations and part of your discussion to inform an understanding of the essay question. So an essay question like, how should psychological theory be used to explain addiction? If you're doing that one, or critically evaluating at least two psychological treatment options for addictive behavior. Whichever the question is you go for, the same kind of principles of how you approach it will apply. So we were talking there, weren't we, about referencing in the first video. Now let's look at how many words are in this little bit we've written here. Now I do like a shortcut thing for that, where I do Control and Tab and G, and it gives me a word count. I like using the keyboard where I can for these shortcuts. That's just me. 84 words. Now, having paragraphs, using paragraphs effectively in your essays is really important. And sometimes we can get feedback as learners, can't we? Where we see, get this feedback from teachers or academics talking about the paragraphs. And, we sort of think, well, how important can a paragraph really be? Well, I suppose it's all about using every kind of element of the essay to kind of best advantage, so that we're not using things in kind of a random way. We're using things in a way that will set out our argument and, deliver information in kind of an even, clear, logical, kind of well-developed kind of way. And all of that comes with redrafting, by the way. No one sits and writes these things down in the linear way just from the start. Takes a bit of time. I'm going to do something a bit weird with this document now. I'm not going to, we've sort of written it almost as if it's a response to a question, but I'm going to just to kind of show you what a full paragraph looks like. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to copy and paste bits that I've got there. People who've been in my class will see me do this already anyway. I've done the same there, just copied and pasted a bit there. And why am I doing that? It's to give you a sense of the rough kind of look of a paragraph in an essay of the kind you're doing for this module. The rough size of it, and how many words was that? 224 words. That's about right for a main body essay. What do I mean by a main body essay? Something that isn't the introduction and the conclusion. That's all I mean by that. So for a 2,000 word essay, you take off, assume it's about 10% of the word count, maybe a bit less for the introduction and conclusion. Well, that's 200 words each for each of those bits. That leaves you with 1,600 words. And I think that's about 5 or 6 main body paragraphs, like this one. So they'll run to about 250 to 300 words. Just see if you can write to about that length in your essays. Much more than that, and it's going to be a bit too dense. So if I sort of show it to me, look at kind of the visual feel of that. That's a really kind of meaty, apologies to vegetarians out there. That's a really kind of dense kind of paragraph. It's not too bad, but it's just a little. That would be a lot of information to read through, to stay with the author all the way through what they're talking about there. No matter how interesting, no matter how many fascinating details about a study are included in there, it's just a bit dense. That's a bit lighter. Maybe that's a bit too short. It could be a bit longer, but I would go on the side of a bit less and a bit more material that's raising kind of essay question contents. If you want to have a longer paragraph, try and increase the purpley bit. So you've got a little bit more there now, 232 words. Try and increase the bits of the discussion that are developing kind of essay question relevant points. And those bits of discussion are they're not going to be providing details about studies, are they? Because we're in kind of a bigger picture mode there, thinking about talking about the essay question. We might have theories in that purpley bit, so we might be talking about how attentional bias, addiction theories, give us a different sense of how we're thinking about choice than Davies' myth of addiction theory. But we're not going to have kind of references in there, I don't think. We're going to be in that big picture mode. So that's how those can look, those paragraphs. Just to keep things clear, you won't have these in your final essay. I'm going to put that on a separate page at the end, the references. I'm actually going to shrink this all down a bit. It looks a bit smaller. Do submit, about single line or 1.5 line spacing in your essays, and do submit font size 11 or 12 for your essays. But I'm shrinking things down a bit here just so we can see clearly. What's the word count there? 1,416 words. So that might be my first draft. And then I might have an introduction here. Maybe my spelling's a little strange. "46 words. Maybe might have a shorter introduction. Ideally try and do something else, but this will let me do that. Okay, so all I'm really trying to do here is show you that you'll need to include an introduction. It could look a bit like that, but it would probably be a bit longer. That's only 42 words. It might be about 150 words. And then the same here. Conclusion. And that's, again, just to give you a sense of what the essay will kind of look like. So we can spend a bit of time talking about introductions and conclusions. But the main focus here is to be on the main body. As you're drafting and developing your essay, do focus on these main body paragraphs. I would start to gather ideas about theories and think about which ones help address the essay question, and start to write notes about those theories from the textbooks, but always have your eye on the essay question. Think about how theories come together and answer the essay question. Then think about some evidence, and maybe a meta-analysis or a systematic review, and how that supports our confidence or not in a theory. Have a bit of that alongside the discussion of theory. Always have those bits at the end of paragraphs, linking back to the essay question, but watch as those paragraphs start to kind of come together. It might not be 6 main body paragraphs, it might be 5, they might be slightly longer. I'm just trying to give you guides here about, roughly how things could look. And I'm trying to give you this all on one page because I think that's quite useful, because then you see what the final product looks like. So, that's 500 words short of what your word count will be. So maybe there would be longer main body paragraphs. There would be a longer introduction conclusion. Those feel a bit short, so I put there as illustrations. But that gives you the idea of what the final thing will look like. And clearly it will be more than 2 references, or it should be. It might not be that many. It might be about that many references. Maybe slightly fewer. But that's a second video on structure. And the idea of structure, and I'll close on this note here, is this relationship between parts and the whole. So each paragraph is like a part of the essay, but try and make sure it's linked to kind of the main focus of the essay. Have that in each paragraph, and that will hit that part of the assessment criteria, which is about having good question focus. So that way you're having the knowledge and understanding, you're having the evidence, you're having the critical thinking about these theories critically in relation to each other, but you're also having that essay question focus. Okay, I'll finish there and I'll do another video on summarizing.